Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in Jew. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And hello and welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going constructively over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Friday's edition of the dceu Daily. Yes, we survived the week, but what a week it's been. We've had James Gunn teasing us more than a stripper on a bachelor's party, right? And then Ben Affleck's explosive interview with the New York Times. Well, as I was reading that interview to you, something really escaped me. And I'm quite an intuitive guy. I can see through the bullshit. I can see when someone is doing something for a certain reason. But this time, my judgment was clouded. And it must be my love for the dceu. It must be my love for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and the Zack Snyderverse and what might have been. And now I see that interview for what it is. It was a man, an actor, a producer, using his trauma, using his alcoholism to actually market a film. If you reread what he's saying, this is not an emotional statement about addiction or alcoholism. This is a person, this is a typical person from Hollywood using something as a marketing tool. Now, I'm not judging Ben for that. That's fine. But of course, that's incited a whole new conversation from this side of the boat, which is, of course, the Snyder fans, the release, the Snyder Cut fans. And from that interview, these people, a lot of people, now I'm a supporter of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I want to see Zack Snyder's Justice League and David Ayer's Suicide Squad. But I want to say I'm deeply embedded in the movement. And I think most people would say that I'm not. I talk about it, but I don't really do anything else. But I feel talking about it is quite important because it shines a light. What happened to Zack Snyder in Justice League is one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen on the circuit in the entertainment industry. It is fascinating. But I can't believe that that interview was taken for anything more than marketing. And I'm just as bad because I saw it for a lot more. This wasn't about him calling out Warner Brothers. But from that interview, everyone got one thing. Well, conspiracies. And everyone's doing videos about Jeff Johns and the powerhouse at Warner Brothers having a conspiracy at Ben Affleck. But let's see if there is a conspiracy against Ben Affleck at Warner Brothers. These evil geniuses are so clever that Ben Affleck has multiple projects still going on at Warner Brothers. Yes, it's true. Ever since Ben Affleck moved away from the Batman movie, he gets project after project after project green lit at Warner Brothers. You see, these rogue elements of the Snyder community are the gift that keeps on giving. So next time you see a video by Film Gob talking about Jeff Johns and the horrible people at Warner Brothers and what they did to Ben, try saying to them, I quote tweeted Film Gob. I made it clear I think he's a very talented YouTuber. I think he's done a lot of great things and shone a light on a lot of things that have been happening. But the agenda and the narrative that Ben Affleck was betrayed by Jeff Johns and Warner Brothers is a false narrative because the evidence is there. The Way Back, is that what it's called? The Way Back is actually distributed by Warner Brothers, if I'm correct. He's got so many more projects with Warner Brothers. So what people are saying makes absolute sense. Now, if Ben Affleck was so betrayed and so incensed by Warner Brothers, and they're the reason he's an alcoholic, which is not true, it's an absolute blatant lie, why is he still working with them? Again and again and again and again. Because they have a good relationship. Because he wasn't driven off the Batman. The truth of the matter is, everyone, well, not everyone, but Ezra Miller, Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa from the Justice League movie are still involved in the dceu since Walter Hamada has come on over. So it seems a bit weird to me that Warner Brothers and Walter and Jeff Johns and everybody else have got this conspiracy against Ben Affleck. It simply isn't true. It's lies. And the people forwarding this have to look at themselves and say, am I really a fan of the Snyder Cut? Or should I say, am I a fan of Zack Snyder? Am I a fan of BVS or MOS? Or am I just using this platform to make myself more popular, to get more clicks and likes and super chats? Someone asked me the other day, what's the funniest concept you've ever heard of? Super chat. The super chat's funny. People actually pay for people to read out their comments. Just imagine that. So if I become a successful YouTuber, I'm going to be a hypocrite because of course I'm going to read out people's super chats and take people's money. After all, I'm only human, but I just think it's the funniest concept. And these people make so much money out of it. But anyway, the point is these people who are forwarding this false narrative that Ben Affleck was betrayed by Warner Brothers are talking absolute crap because he's still working with them. It wouldn't be the case. Let's look at the facts here. Ever since Rian Johnson did The Last Jedi and all the shit hit the fans, how many things has he done with Disney? Zilch. That means the reaction hit Disney and they parted company, even though they haven't officially announced parting company. If they love him so much, why isn't he doing umpteen MCU movies? Why isn't he going to do an animated special? Why isn't he going to do a live action feature for Disney? Because he became poison to Disney. This is not me coming at Ryan. Ryan's a very talented director. It just happens that his Star Wars movie is a very divisive movie. Who else has got a really divisive situation at a studio? Oh yes, Zack Snyder. Well look, since BVS, what has he done with Warner Brothers? Nothing. That's how it works. When things are not working out between a creative and a studio, they part company. That's a consistency. So what people are saying about Warner Brothers and Kevin Tsujihara and how they treated Zack is true. But look at Ben Affleck. He's still boozy buddies. Sorry, I shouldn't say boozy buddies. That's the wrong term, considering he's an alcoholic. But they are buddies. They're working together. He's still working with Warner Brothers. So why would have Warner Brothers betrayed a man they still love to bits and still want to work with? In fact, they supported him through his alcoholism. And you YouTubers and you people on the internet who claim to be Zack Snyder fans, right, are blatantly lying. Now we move on to Jeff Johns. And actually, there's a YouTuber called Lantern128. He did a great video yesterday. And basically defending Jeff Johns. Now, Jeff is a big boy. He doesn't need to defend himself. And I am a Jeff Johns fan. But I've got to explain that everyone in life comes from their own point of view. Zack Snyder wanted to make a real-world Superman and Batman and DC universe. That's fine. That's his vision. He was put in a prominent position of power to make that position come to life. That's fine. I respect that. But Jeff Johns, do you know how Jeff Johns started in this industry? It wasn't from his surname. It wasn't from the church he went to or the religious house he went to. Jeff Johns was a nobody who became a runner for Richard Donner. That's right, Richard Donner, the director who gave us the first Superman and 4 Lethal Weapon movies, right? He started as a runner for Richard Donner. And it was Richard Donner he wanted to work with because he made the Superman movie. So he was a DC fan long before, right? So he's a proper DC Comics fan. And from that, he found a way into becoming such a big deal at DC Comics. Imagine that, the work ethic. This fanboy got himself where he wanted to be in his dream house, right? In his fantasy island at DC Comics. And no one could deny this is a great storyteller and a great writer. And he got himself to Chief Executive Officer at DC, which basically meant he was also in charge of the films. I think what Lantern said, which was really good, if Warner Brothers didn't get Jeff Johns to kind of try and course correct what Zack was doing, because that's what they felt was needed after Suicide Squad, they would have got somebody else, and the same shit would have happened. Now, did Jeff Johns betray Zack? First of all, again, you have to look at it from Jeff Johns' point of view. You're looking at it from Zack Snyder's point of view because you're fans and you like what he did. and that's fair enough. But I remember, I think I actually read the interview out to you with Diane Nelson and Jeff Johns, the Vulture interview. Do you remember just before Justice League was released? Now, Jeff was saying that he tried to explain to everyone involved at the time on the production of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman that what they were doing was going to cause a furious, divisive reaction, and they didn't listen to him. Commercially, he knew what he was saying. It turned to shit. He said it was going to turn to shit, and it did turn to shit. That's not a betrayal. That's Jeff Johns coming from an intelligent standpoint. Now, as I say, I love Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and I'm glad they happened. And I'm glad I've got them on 4K. I've even got them on Prime Video as well. I'm that obsessed with them. Yeah, I've got them all over the place. But what the warning that Jeff Johns warned them about happened. Batman v Superman, Man of Steel less divisive, and Suicide Squad was also a divisive film. So Jeff's warnings were unheard. In the end, Jeff Johns was right. So for the people who believe that Jeff Johns messed up Justice League, he didn't mess up Justice League. The truth of the matter is, Warner Brothers, Sujihara, put Whedon in place to do a certain thing, and that's why it turned to shit. And we know why. Because no one could have turned somebody else's vision into another vision using the same release date and on the remit and the schedule that Joss had. But Joss is another one who's attacked. He was just doing his job, but he's attacked constantly. Everyone's a snake. Matt Reeves is a snake. How is Matt Reeves a snake? He was offered the job to direct Batman, right? And he took it because he's a Batman fan and he's a talented man and he has every right to take a job, right? But he's accused of betraying Ben. Everyone betrayed Ben. Everyone, apparently. No. Ben was suffering with serious alcoholism. The facts remain that Ben couldn't handle working on big blockbuster projects because of his obsessive compulsive disorders and his alcoholism. And the worst time for him was during the filming of Batman v Superman. He simply couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the press tour. His disease was too much for him. That's why Ben rarely works on blockbusters. In fact, find me other blockbusters that Ben's worked on. Very few. Mainly, he does small movies. Even the ones that he directed and starred in were smaller movies. He can't handle it. And that's why he walked away from the Batman. Because he simply couldn't handle making films on that scale. And that's okay. But from an interview where he uses his experience with alcoholism to market something, right? That's all he's doing. And as I say, he never sits down in that interview once and says, I'm so grateful to the fans, the Batman fans. I'm still really proud that I played Batman. He never says that. And that's the thing for me. Because he's only got one focus and one focus in mind. And good luck to him. I'm not attacking him. He wants to market his movie. The Way Back is a middling, independent film that's not going to make a lot of money unless Ben pushes it up to the mainstream platform and gets all his friends to say what a lovely guy he is and what a terrible time he's been through. And it's great and it's emotional. But he's using that to market this film. Make no mistake about that. And if I were you lot, I would focus more on talking about how we can get the Snyder Cut and the Ayer Cut released rather than getting involved with these boring histrionics. I've explained to you now why this happened. And going back to Jeff Johns, he came from his own perspective where he's a comic book guy and he wanted things done in a certain way. Kevin Feige is a comic book guy and look how good that's turned out, right? Even from the X-Men movies where he was kind of a consultant as well. And even Raimi's Spider-Man movies, look how well they turned out as well. So when you do actually take it to the source, which is the comics, and the thing is, with comic book movies, you've got to please a hell of a lot of people. There's the normies who don't really read comic books. There's the comic book diehards, right? There's the diehards, right? So, and they weren't really pleased, right? So when you're making these type of movies, you've got to try. That's why Superman Returns wasn't very successful, because it honoured Superman the movie, but it doesn't honour the comics. Again, the poor comic book fans are kind of left behind. And as I always say, that isn't fair. So that's the situation. That's where we are. If you want to believe that Ben Affleck was betrayed by Warner Brothers, a company he's still very close to and works with still on multiple future projects, including The Way Back, which will be released in March, that's up to you. But it's simply not true. But as usual, I want to know what you think. Please comment down below. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you there. I can't wait.